Alright, hello again everybody, and welcome to our next lesson here, Life During the Great Depression for our unit, the Great Depression. Okay, our objectives and standards, to analyze why many men left their homes during the Great Depression, and to conclude how the Great Depression affected women and children. And again, our standards are there if you'd like to take a second to look at them. Okay, and our desired result, what were the challenges that faced men, women, and children during the Great Depression? Okay, so after this stock market crash and we get into the Great Depression, obviously a lot of people lost their jobs. We discussed already, and many men had difficulty continuing to live at home and not being able to provide for their families. Obviously, the man was always seen as the breadwinner for the family and seen as the one who provided, everything for his family. So a lot of men have a lot of difficulty, not being able to have a job and, having a problem trying to find a job. A lot of these men are out, walking the streets every day trying to find some type of job or some type of work. I told you some of the personal stories I have that I know from my family stories that they lived during the Great Depression about some of the different work that they had to do and things like that. And some men couldn't take the stress, the struggle of it anymore, and they abandon their families. They don't want to be a failure to their families, so they pretty much abandon their families and leave them on their own because they just can't handle anymore not being able to find a job. Another thing is that there was no direct relief during this time for Americans. That's government assistance in the form of cash or food for the poor. So there was no other type of help necessarily for Americans prior to the Great Depression happening. Alright, so women struggle with life. To save money, some women canned foods or sewed clothes, and some women were able to find jobs. But again, unfortunately, some women, really struggled with their children and their husbands not having jobs, or their husbands possibly leaving to find work or running away or things like that. So they also struggled as well. Alright, so the challenges of children. So during the Great Depression, we have a lot of poor nutrition. Obviously, children aren't able to eat right because, if their families aren't able to provide for them, they're not eating right, they're not getting the proper nutrition that they need. So this led to a lot of declining health for children, and there was no real money from local, state, or any, probably even the federal governments to help care for children. A lot of these budgets are cut, and there's not going to be assistance there to really help care for children for people. A lot of schools are going to close due to poor budget issues. So children are going to be forced to pretty much, not go to school and find a job. And a lot of these kids are going to have to go work in, not so great conditions for jobs in factories and things of that nature, I suppose. Some teenagers also left home. Some teenagers saw it as, maybe they were helping their families by was one less mouth to feed. Some children had that opinion. Other teenagers thought that maybe they should leave home to try and find a job to help support their families. And other teenagers just, wanted to get away from it all, wanted to get away from, the sadness and the struggle, and thought, I'll just run away and, try and make a start for myself somewhere else, and maybe I'll find something or, be able to do something. So psychological and emotional. For many, the hardships are too much, and unfortunately, a lot of people are going to take their own lives, and suicides are going to increase during the Great Depression because they're unable to handle a lot of the stress and the psychological effects of it. And it's a very difficult thing to talk about, but it was the truth that a lot of people did commit suicides, and a lot of people were going to be admitted to mental hospitals because, again, the mental strain and the stress of it is going to be too much for many of them, and they're going to be admitted to mental hospitals. Like we talked about, kids putting off taking care of their health. A lot of even adults are going to stop going to the doctor, stop going to the dentist because they just can't afford it. So there's going to be other health problems in the terms of that. Others, people who were supposed to go to college are going to put off going to college, or even people who were going to get married or start a family, they're going to put that off as well. So people are going to, make sure that they're living for the day and saving their money for that day and not worry about a lot of things coming on down for the road in the future. Now, despite a lot of this, sadness and struggle, Americans did pull together to help each other out, through charity. And if your neighbor needed something, or the guy you work with needed something, a lot of Americans are going to come together and help each other out. So even though they're worried about themselves and their own families, they're going to definitely, give a helping hand to each other as well. All right, so our closure. What were the challenges that faced men, women, and children during the Great Depression? Think about some of the things that you learned about in the lesson here. Please try your best on the questions that follow. Let me know if you have any questions or concerns, and I hope to talk to you all soon. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.